A very good day to you out there. This is African Progress Television, where we report Africa from a refreshing perspective, and guess you had a very good week. My name is Leo Oketa, bringing you stories in the news this week. Police in Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria, has said that the explosion that rocked the headquarters of Nigerian Police Anti-Bomb Squad in Yola, Adamawa State, was caused by bombs recovered from Boko Haram insurgents and warehoused by the police, along with other crime exhibits, and not an external aggression. The Commissioner of Police in Adamawa State, Mohammed Kasali, dispelled speculation that the command had come under attack from insurgents following widespread apprehension by residents. In a blast which occurred shortly before noon on Thursday, many police officers were found dead, just as all buildings within the office of the Anti-Bomb Squad, including the State Investigation Bureau and Motor Traffic Division, were affected. Ghazali said most of the victims of the explosion were police personnel, but failed to give figures of casualties. Men of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission (ICPC) have been combing Ekiti State in continuation of the anti-graft agency's investigation of the alleged misappropriation of over 25 billion naira. The ICPC visited some of the projects claimed to have been executed with the 25 billion naira bond obtained from the capital markets by Fayemi administration. The visit was said to be at the prompting of petitions written by the state government and a group Save Ekiti Coalition. Sources close to the commission also disclosed that the federal government was no longer comfortable with the public perception of President Muhammadu Buhari's anti-corruption fight as being selective, and most importantly, Governor Ayodele Fayoshe's claim that complaints from the states to the ICPC and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission about how the immediate past All Progressive Congress government of Fayemi fleeced the states were ignored. And the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) arrested the immediate past acting chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Oliseh Resigns. The party's director for new media, Adeyemju Ayodeji, said the EFCC accused Mr. Secondus of receiving buses illegally and demanded he returned them. Mr. Secondus' tenure as acting chairman of the party ended last week Monday with the selection of Ali Modu Sheriff as the party's new national chairman. In a statement by the party's national legal advisor Victor Kwon, the PDP lamented the oppressive and unfair treatments against its key leaders by the federal government. And the Senate has ordered the arrest of a former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), Mr. Ibrahim Lamord, for repeatedly refusing to appear before its probe panel. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, chaired by Samuel Anyanwu APC from Imo East, is investigating Mr. Lamord for alleged corruption. The committee requested for the arrest warrant on Thursday. Mr. Lamord's probe followed a petition by the Chief Executive of Public Alert Security Systems, George Obo, who accused the former EFCC boss of diverting 1 trillion naira of assets recovered by the anti-graft agency during his time as the Director of Operations and later as Chairman of the Commission. Mr. Lamord, through a statement by the spokesperson of EFCC, Wilson Ujarin, had dismissed the allegation, questioning the motive of the Senate probe as it began in the wake of the EFCC's investigation of Toyin Saraki, wife of the Senate President Bukola Saraki, over allegations of graft while her husband governed Kwara State between 2003 and 2011. And the former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Diezani Alison Madueke, who is currently undergoing extensive cancer treatment in London, has strongly refuted claims that she gave $24 billion oil swap deals without contracts. In a release issued to journalists in Abuja, Mrs. Madueke rejected some newspaper and online reports which sensationally claimed that she granted an extension instead of approval for the renewal of contracts for the swap agreements. She described the latest attack on her person as fabricated tissues of lies deviously concocted to sustain the escalating evil narratives against her person. And the Senate on Wednesday summoned the Minister of Industries, Trade and Investment, Mr. Emeka Enelama, Director General, Nigerian Broadcasting Commission (NBC), and Director General of Consumer Protection Council (CPC), over what the chamber termed unwholesome practices by Multichoice Nigeria (DSTV). The chamber also mandated the Committee on Information to organize a public hearing for all stakeholders, including the relevant civil authorities in order to foster the way forward and report back to the whole House within 4 weeks. These were sequel to motions sponsored by Senator Issa Misau from PDP Bauchi Central, entitled Concern on Unwholesome Practices by Multi-Choice Nigeria, TSTV. And now on the foreign scene, Libyan officials on Wednesday said Islamic State group jihadists briefly occupied the heart of a Libyan city near Tripoli, but were ousted by militia fighters in clashes that left 16 people dead. ISIS has taken advantage of growing chaos to expand its foothold in the northern African country, which has rival governments vying for power. The jihadists overnight a seizure of the security headquarters and other buildings in Sabratha came days after a US airstrike hit an ISIS training camp near the western city, killing dozens, probably including a senior ISIS operative. ISIS fighters exploited the security vacuum in the city center as security forces loyal to authorities in militia-held Tripoli conducted raids looking for ISIS operatives in the suburbs, Sabratha's municipal council said in a statement. And still on the foreign scene, Republican presidential hopefuls Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio have unleashed a barrage of attacks on front-runner Donald Trump in the last debate before next week's pivotal primaries. The senators sought to blunt Mr. Trump's momentum after he won 3 of the 4 contests. Immigration, healthcare, and outreach to Latino voters dominated the debate. But like previous occasions, the debate quickly disintegrated into long periods of shouting and personal insults. And now in sports, Nigeria's Super Eagles boss Sunday Oliseh has resigned as head coach of the Nigerian football national team just over 7 months after he was appointed. Oliseh, who announced his resignation on Twitter, said he took the decision due to the inability of the Nigerian Football Federation (NFF) to honor the terms of his contract. In a preceding tweet before announcing his resignation, Oliseh thanked Nigerians for the opportunity to serve as a coach of the national team. Oliseh began having problems with the executives of the federation over remuneration, match tactics, and results. His complaint about being owed was not well received by the NFF, which rather threatened to sanction him. He also had challenges managing players. On altercation between the coach and the team's former captain and the country's most capped goalkeeper, Vincent Enyama, led to the goalie's premature resignation from the team last October. And still in that line, meanwhile, the Nigerian Football Federation has responded to the resignation of Oliseh, describing it as a good riddance to bad rubbish. The spokesperson for the Federation, Ademola Olajire, said with Oliseh's departure, the country would have to immediately empanel a new set of technical leadership for the national team. The president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, has equally reacted to the development, saying Oliseh's resignation came to him as a huge shock. While trusting the abilities of the rest of the technical team handling the national team, he cited that Oliseh highlighted family consideration as a huge influence. For more, please do log on to our website at www.africanfreepress.com. Follow us on Twitter at African Free Press. Like our Facebook page at africanfreepress.com. Join us in our discussions on various interesting topics at African Free Press Forum, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at African Free Press. My name is Leo Oketa. Do have a blessed weekend.